Good morning. Surprising as it may seem, we are still having difficulty getting past a certain hump. And I don't say that to scold, I say it to save us time and heartache. The hump is very simple, and so, being simple, we have missed it again and again. As long as you are looking for God out there, you are looking in the one place God is not. Do you see that? As long as your eyes and hopes and fears go outward, to people, to places, to organizations, to tomorrows, you are maintaining separation. And separation is the entire problem. Now, we have all done it. We have turned to a church, to a book, to a teacher, even to a mountain or a holy hour, as if God were scheduled to appear on the outside of our own being. But an external God must be a coming and going God, and a God who comes and goes cannot be God. Do you follow that? If God is omnipresence, then there is no out there in which to find him, and no not yet in which to wait for him. God is individual being. God is your being. God is my being. If that is not the foundation, we are building a house on sand. Please understand, this is not anti-church, not anti-scripture, not a campaign against anything that has helped you to be still and listen. It is anti-dependency. It is the refusal to be trained into waiting for a God who arrives from elsewhere. The moment you are taught that your help, your holiness, your supply, your safety must come through this person or that place, you have been gently escorted back into the old slavery of separation. Do you see that? Frankly, I can't do it for you. Nor can the writings or the recordings do it for you. They can point. They can witness. But until the pointer is followed within, until you acknowledge, even tremblingly, God is my own being, you will wander the corridors of outer help, applauding from the gallery, while the stage of your own consciousness remains dark. This is not duality. This is merely a human form of turning within to the one that already is, the one that cannot be added to and cannot be taken from. And so the purpose of our time is not to shower you with new information. You don't need shinier words. You need a pivot, an inward turn that becomes an experience. Today we are going to make Christ within practical, present, the activity of God as your very life. We will not ask for a sign from the sky. We will learn to be still and let the sign rise from within. If you will walk with me moment by moment, we will cross that hump. We will stop seeking a far-off God, and we will discover the source, here where you stand, as your own being. Do you feel the relief as you even entertain it? That is the door beginning to open. Now let us look squarely at that hump. Not to scold it, but to name it so plainly that it dissolves. The hump is the old habit of sending your need, your prayer, your hope, out past your own being and waiting for an answer to come back by post. It is the reflex to externalize supply, guidance, healing, safety, as if God were a distant helper to be summoned rather than present being to be recognized. Do you see that? Every time you look to a person to underwrite your good, to a temple to contain it, to a technique to produce it, you have quietly confessed separation. You have said without saying it, God is not here as me, God must be fetched. And that one confession is the whole problem. Even our most sincere prayers, and I know the sincerity, carry this subtle denial. Please, God, come, give, change, protect. Beautiful words, perhaps, but they paint a picture of a God somewhere else and a blessing not yet. It becomes pleading, bargaining, persuading a deity to notice us. and it leaves us exhausted, because it secretly declares, I am outside of the life of God, and if I say enough holy words, perhaps I will be let in. Do you follow that? If God is omnipresence, if God is life itself, to beg is to deny. To plead is to postpone. To coax is to forget that the very capacity to turn within is already the presence announcing itself. This is why teachings so often fail us. Not because they are false, but because we quarantine them in the library of our minds. As long as truth remains in a book or on a recording, it isn't of any more value or power except as literature. Inspiration is lovely. It can lift the mood of an afternoon. But until a principle becomes your own realized consciousness, it is a framed picture on the wall. Do you see that? Reading that God is individual being comforts. Embodying it ends the search. The infinite way is not a message about God. It is God, realized as the life you are. And so our aim now is not to furnish you with better ideas about God. We are not crafting a prettier theology. We are after a conscious transition in you, from looking for God to acknowledging God as your very being. God is individual being. God is your being. God is my being. This is not duality. This is not calling upon a far-off power. This is a human way of turning within to that which already is, the one that neither comes nor goes. Frankly, I can't do it for you, and no book can do it for you. I can point, I can witness, I can sit with you in the stillness and be a willing instrument. But the pivot must occur where you are. How? You stop asking and begin acknowledging. You cease the outer motion and quietly announce within yourself, even if the knees of your mind are knocking. God is the life of me now. Christ is the activity of my being. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Not give me, but you are. Not send it, but be it as me. Then be still. Do you see the difference? One posture strains toward an absent good. The other rests in a present fullness and lets it prove itself. This is the hump. It will not yield to argument, nor to a brighter set of sentences. It yields the moment you refuse separation in your own consciousness and accept, here and now, that the source is within as your own identity. Make that turn, and grace takes the reins. Keep looking out, and you remain tired. The choice is immediate, and it is yours. And the instant you choose, the very choosing is the evidence that the Christ within has already begun its activity. Now let us be very clear what I mean when I say Christ within. Because if this remains a phrase, it will soothe you for an hour and fail you tomorrow. God is individual being. God is your being. God is my being. Say it softly within yourself until it is not a sentence, but a fact you are willing to stand on. God is individual being. Therefore, all that God is the life of you now. Christ is the name we give to the activity of that God being appearing as the intelligence, the love, the law of your life. Not a visitor, not a special mood, not a refined human excellence. Christ is God in action as you. Do you see that? This is not duality. It is not a human self carrying around a God self like a spare battery. This is not a little deity seated somewhere behind your rib cage, ready to be coaxed if you sing the right hymn. It is not your private goodness. not your optimism, not your temperament on a sunny day. Christ within is impersonal, meaning not personal to me or you. And yet, it is the most intimate thing you will ever know, because it is your very being. It does not make you special. It reveals that no one is special in God, and therefore all are holy in one. Do you follow that? When the Master said, "I and the Father are one," he did not endow a personality with divinity. He uncovered the fact of identity for all time. When he said, "The kingdom of God is within you," he was not giving a location inside a body. He was turning attention to source within consciousness. And when he said, "I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works," he handed us the procedure. Here it is in the simplest words. I yield. Christ acts. I stop being a cause. I become a transparency. I do not think out, plan out, strain out. I consent within. Father, I am willing to be still. Let thy grace be the sufficiency here. Then wait until the impulse, the peace, the quiet assurance arises. That arising is the Christ in action. Now, do not make a technique out of it, and don't picture anything. This is not imagination, this is recognition. It is not a trance, it is a simple inner consent that even a child can give. And it is for every child of God, banker, mother, student, carpenter, nurse. The moment you stop assigning power to your personal mind and quietly admit, I in my own self can do nothing, God as my being does the works. A transition takes place. The strain moves out, sufficiency moves in. You find yourself speaking, choosing, giving, withholding, not from will or fear, but from a deeper rhythm that proves itself wise. God is individual being. God is your being. God is my being. Let that be the premise on which you stand. The Christ within is that being in motion, impersonal, present, inseparable from you. And as you yield, it will show itself, not with fireworks, but with the quiet inevitability of dawn. Do you see that? Let us face something that sounds harsh, but will save years. External religion cannot deliver, because it trains you to depend. The very structure is, come here, do this, pay that, wait until then. And in so doing, it subtly ordains you as a permanent supplicant. You are taught to bring your emptiness to a counter and hope the clerk is in a good mood. Do you see that? The hidden cost is not the tithe or the time. The hidden cost is your confession, whispered again and again, that God is absent until a place, a person, a ritual grants you access. And each time you bend to that picture, you strengthen the root problem: separation. Now hear this as an ethical statement, not a complaint. A man or a woman sins when they leave you believing you need them. If after I finish speaking you walk away saying, I must have more of him, more of these meetings, more of this organization, or I cannot find God, then I have failed you and wronged you. If I thought these talks or these books were going to make you dependent upon me or upon a movement, I would want to tear them all up and go away. If I go not away, the Comforter will not come unto you. Do you follow that? The role of a teacher, if there must be such, is to point to the interior and then to disappear from your necessity. Not to abandon you, but to force you to discover the one who cannot abandon you, the Christ within. There is a very modern form of bondage that dresses itself in spiritual clothing. We might call it spiritual consumerism. The next sermon, the next retreat, the next meditation app, the next technique, the next healing. Always the next. Always the belief that if we just add one more jewel to our string, the necklace will become God. But this is still shopping. This is still postponement. It is the same old separateness with a brighter label. You see, whether you depend on a pill, a priest, or a practice, dependence is the confession that Christ is not your sufficiency now. And as long as you make that confession, you bar the door you are asking heaven to open. Do you see that? Please do not misread me. I am not against gatherings or words or song. I am against your bondage to them. I am a willing instrument. I am willing to be still and let you be God. But frankly, I can't do it for you, nor can the writings or the recordings do it for you. At best, we use these moments to pivot you inward. No more shall you worship in this holy mountain, nor yet in that temple, nor in this teacher, nor in that technique, but in spirit and in truth. Tell me, what do you need a membership in anything for, if all that the Father hath is mine? What can a calendar date add to omnipresence? The freedom begins here. You stop being a follower and you become an instrument. You cease shopping and you start acknowledging. Turn within and let this be your new premise spoken quietly, without drama. Father, I am not separate from you. God is my being. Thy grace is the sufficiency here. Then be still, not looking out to a benevolent government, a wealthy friend, a celebrated teacher, an impressive ritual. No, it will come, guidance, supply, peace, from within, as the activity of the Christ that is your very life. Any path that increases your dependence on what is outside you denies you that direct experience. Any word that sends you to me instead of to your own inner sanctuary has missed the point. The infinite way is not to gather you around me. It is to establish you where you stand, in immediate access, immediate grace, immediate sufficiency. Do you feel the relief in that? That relief is already the Comforter arriving. Now let us name the battleground. Because if you swing your sword in the wrong field, you will tire yourself out and win nothing. The battle is not with people, not with bodies, not with economies or circumstances. The battle is with appearances accepted as power. Do you see that? The moment you grant an appearance the dignity of law, you kneel to it. And in kneeling to it, you confess separation again. We are not here to wrestle with shadows on the wall. We are here to turn to the light within and let the shadow prove itself nothing. Supposing I present to you right now the statement 2 times 2 is 5. Will you argue with me? Will you grab my pencil or shake my shoulders? No. You will meet that claim where it actually is, within consciousness. You will rest in the truth 2 times 2 is 4, and the falsity dissolves without a scuffle. Do you see that? You do not have to change me or fix the blackboard. You do not run to a store for better chalk. You simply know the truth, and that knowing, because it is truth, annuls the lie. This is our model of healing and harmonizing. We do not fix conditions, we meet the belief. What are the beliefs that parade as law? Not laws of matter, not laws of food or climate, not laws of medical belief, not laws of heredity, not laws of sin or purity, not laws of luck or chance, not astrological charts, not superstitions of nation or family. God is the only law. God is individual being. God is your being. God is my being. All that God is, I am. All that the Father hath is mine. Nothing can happen to me except what happens to God. Do you follow that? When that becomes premise, the parade of so-called laws loses its authority in you. And because it loses authority in you, it loses avenue into your experience. Now here is why competing with material methods fails us. The moment you try to fix a body, fix a pocketbook, fix a person, you enter the arena of appearances and you become a competitor against materia medica, against economics, against personalities and their wills. In that arena, there is always a bigger opponent tomorrow. But when you meet the belief within, this is not a sick person. This is a belief about life separated from God. This is not lack. This is a belief in supply separated from source. You rise out of competition entirely. Light does not compete with darkness. It shows up, and darkness is not. Do you see that? And let us be very clear. This is not positive thinking. That is the human mind butting its head against the human mind. No grace, no authority. The dissolving activity is the Christ, the living grace realized within. The procedure is this: turn within and quietly declare, I of mine own self can do nothing. Father, thou doest the works. Let thy grace be the sufficiency here. Reveal the nothingness of this claim and the allness of thy law. Then be still, not forcing, not picturing. Wait until the soft assurance, the release, the inner yes or no appears. That arising is the Christ within acting as your consciousness, and with it, there is no opponent left. So when money shouts, when pain argues, when a relationship storms, you need not fix the scene. Meet the belief. There is no law outside God to sustain discord. God is the only law of this very being. Then yield. I am a willing instrument. I'm willing to be still and let you be God. And watch as the next step is given. Sometimes it is rest. Sometimes a phone call. Sometimes a clear no. Sometimes a radiant silence that itself ends the quarrel. But it will not be your cleverness. It will be grace. Here is the secret that ends the struggle. You do not overcome life by fixing conditions. You meet the belief in consciousness and let Christ dissolve the claim. Do you see that? Now the first step you can take, and you can take it this very moment without moving a finger, is an interior declaration. Not to convince God, not to hypnotize yourself, but to install a new premise from which you will henceforth live. Quietly, firmly, almost in a whisper to your own being. God is my individual being. All that the Father hath is mine. Say it again, not loudly, but with authority. God is individual being. God is my being. God is my life, my law, my supply, my capacity. All that the Father hath is mine. Do you see that? This is not begging. This is acknowledging. This is not sending a request out into air. This is turning to the source that is your very life and consenting to it. Understand what we are doing. This is not the metaphysical platitude cliché business. This is not affirmation magic. No. This is a change of premise. You are refusing to proceed on the basis of separation. You are cutting the old root that said, I am here, and God is somewhere else, and perhaps, with luck, we will meet. You are stepping over a threshold into I and the Father are one, not as a slogan, but as your working premise. From that premise, everything changes. Not because you have said words, but because you have ceased denying the truth by hoping it will come from outside. Do you follow that? And because habit is strong, oh, it is strong. The declaration must be repeated until the mind stops racing down its old streets. Not once, not only when candles are lit, but in the kitchen, in the office, at the phone, in the car. God is my individual being. All that the Father hath is mine. Do you see that? We return and return, not to make it true, but to make it conscious. Each time the knee-jerk reaches for an outer crutch, you pause inside and rest the weight of your thought on the premise. Not later, now. Not tomorrow, now. Then you will notice the outward grasping slacken, as if a fist unclenched. That is the premise taking root. There will be resistance. Expect it and do not fear it. The human sense of self wants the medals. It wants to be the achiever, the healer, the provider, the clever one. It fears losing control, and with it, the applause. But hear me. What you lose is the strain, the anxiety, the lonely burden of being your own God. What you gain is liberty, the liberty of instrumentality. So when the protest rises, meet it with this: I of mine own self can do nothing. Father, thou doest the works. I resign from managing outcomes. I am a willing instrument. I'm willing to be still and let you be God. Do you see how the pressure lifts even as you say it? And now, know that the declaration is the doorway, not the room. It ushers you to the threshold where the activity of the Christ can be felt. Having declared, having installed the premise, you do not stride out to make it happen. You grow quiet. You allow the grace which is already your life to announce itself. The declaration closes the mouth of fear. The stillness opens the ear of the heart. We will take that next step together. But for now, let this be your first faithfulness. God is my individual being. All that the Father hath is mine. Say it softly. Rest in it briefly. Say it again and again, until the very saying becomes a being, and the being becomes a peace that needs no proof. Do you see that? And now, after the declaration, we stop. We stop the words, we stop the mental chewing, we stop trying to see how it will work out, and we become still. The greatest achievements have come when there have been no words and no thoughts. Do you see that? The declaration set the table. Stillness allows the meal to appear. If you keep explaining truth to yourself, you are still feeding the human mind. If you grow quiet, you make way for the activity of the Christ, which needs no coaching from us. Now this is not sleep, and it is not a trance. It is a poised, reverent availability. I am a willing instrument. I'm willing to be still and let you be God. Not passive, available. Not lazy, receptive. How do we pray here? Not with begging, not with promises, not with plans. We use the simplest formula known among the saints, and it is not a formula to persuade God, but to yield to God. Let thy grace be the sufficiency unto this situation. Let thy grace be the sufficiency unto this day. Let thy grace be the sufficiency unto this body. Let thy grace be the sufficiency unto this household. Do you feel the difference? We are not asking for a new law, a new power, a new substance. We are consenting to the only law, the only power, the only life already present as our being. This is not duality. This is not God helping me. This is God as my life expressing itself without obstruction. And so you sit very quietly. No pictures, no trying to feel something, no hunting for a sign. You simply rest the weight of your attention inside the premise. God is my individual being. And you add nothing. You wait. A minute. 2. Until something of a release occurs, like a loosening in the chest, or a gentle warmth that is not emotional but evidential, or a quiet assurance that says without words, it is done. Sometimes there will come a definite yes, sometimes a clean no, and you will find you are unafraid to follow it. Sometimes only a great stillness, and in that stillness the situation rearranges itself without your hand on the lever. Do you see that? The action is not human reasoning. It is the Christ in motion as your consciousness. Now, you will be tempted to jump up and make it happen. Do not. Remain an instrument. The impulse will come, and when it comes, it will carry peace with it. Never strain. That is your test. If the next step produces anxiety and push, it is still the human will pretending to be divine. If it comes with quiet rightness, even if it challenges your plans, that is grace. Thy grace be the sufficiency, not my understanding, not my cleverness. Father, thou doest the works. Remember, this is not withdrawing from life. This is entering life from its source. You are not stepping aside from responsibility. You are refusing to be the cause. You are the transparency, and through transparency, God as your being lives its own day. Then results are not wrestled into place. They appear as peace, order, provision, wisdom, and when necessary, a firm no that frees. And because the doer is God, the atmosphere is rest. Rest is the seal. Do you see that? Now watch where the temptations come. Not once in a lifetime, but 10 times before noon. You open the bank book, and you ask it to tell you whether you are safe. You scan the body and ask it to tell you whether you are well. You study a face, a text message, an audience, and ask them to tell you whether you are worthy. Do you see that? In each case you have appointed an outside judge and asked for a verdict on your life. Fear always demands an external proof. It says, show me in numbers, show me in symptoms, show me in smiles. And the moment you bow to that demand, separation is quietly enthroned again. Take money. The old reflex is, can I afford it? And then you sit there as a clerk, counting coins in a dim back room, making destiny out of arithmetic. I am not asking you to deny a ledger. I am saying the ledger is not law. It is a report of yesterday. Law is God. Source is within. So the practice is this. Turn within and say, Father, is this for us right now? Then wait. Not a quick coin toss. Wait until the impulse comes. Sometimes it will be a clean yes that carries ease with it. Sometimes a gentle no that leaves no regret. Sometimes not yet, and the urgency drains out of you like water from a struck pail. That is not magical spending. That is obedience to the Christ impulse. It will never ask you to prove faith with recklessness. It will not shout, "Charge it, God owes me." It will guide, and its hallmark is peace. Now the body. Fear will teach you to check and check and check again. You prod an ache as if it were a prophet. You solicit forecasts from appearances. That is still dependence on outside testimony. We are not in competition with medicine, and we are not running away from help. We are meeting belief within. Turn and say, "Let thy grace be the sufficiency unto this body. Reveal life as thyself." Then be still. The impulse may direct you to rest, to a practitioner, to a doctor, to a bowl of broth, to a good walk in the air. Go as sent, not as panicked. The difference? Panic drags you. Grace leads you. Panic argues and hurries. Grace is quiet and sure. Do you see that? And relationships. How quickly the heart leans outward. Do they approve? Do they still love me? Shall I explain, justify, correct? That is borrowing identity from faces. Instead, turn within. Father, is there a word for me to speak? Is there a silence to keep? Wait. The Christ impulse will come without a case to make. It may give you a simple apology without self-defense. It may give you silence with warmth. It may give you a boundary said without anger. You will know it by its fruit. Dignity for all. No residue of winning and losing. Here is your test again and again. Ego impulse comes with hurry, fear, and explanations stacked like dominoes. It tightens the chest. It needs witnesses. The Christ impulse is simple. It may even look small. It carries rest into the very moment it directs. You could do it and never mention why. Do you follow that? And let us be realistic. It doesn't even help me that I've known this before. The battle has to be fought again. Habit is noisy. The old gods of bankbook, body, and approval keep knocking. Each time you pivot. I of mine own self can do nothing. Father, thou doest the works. God is my individual being. Thy grace is the sufficiency here. Then wait. The answer will come as peace in motion, and with it, the day will take care of itself from the inside out. Do you see that? Now some of you say, but what about helping others? What about my child, my friend, my patient? And here is where our love, if untaught, becomes a trap. The human impulse is to fix, to advise, to lean on them until they stand up, and before you know it, you are their savior, their calendar, their conscience, and you are exhausted. Do you see that? You have made yourself a source. You have trained them to depend. And any help that deepens dependence is not help. It is bondage with a soft voice. There is a pure way to serve. When anyone asks for help, refuse the role of manipulator. Do not start rearranging their life in your mind. Do not go to their body, their bank book, their history. Say, if you can say it out loud, let us go to God together. Then, within yourself, become very still. I of mine own self can do nothing. Father, thou doest the works. Let thy grace be the sufficiency unto this individual, this situation, this condition. And wait. Do you see how clean that is? You have removed your will, your cleverness, your sentimentality. You have placed the case where it belongs, in the activity of the Christ. Where are you going to meet the trouble? Not in their body, not in their mind, not in yesterday's story. You meet it where any claim must be met. Within consciousness as belief, as suggestion, as appearance. This is not a sick person. This is a belief that life can be separate from God. This is not a sinner. This is a belief in a selfhood apart from God. This is not lack. This is a belief that supply is outside of source. Do you follow that? The instant you treat a person as a problem, you have entered competition with appearances, and you will wrestle. The instant you recognize a belief and yield to grace, there is no opponent. Light does not fight. Now, compassion. We have confused compassion with emotional merging. To cry with someone until both are drowning is not compassion. It is contagion. True compassion is recognition. The place whereon I stand is holy ground. And because God is individual being, the place whereon you stand is holy ground. I behold you where you are in truth, not where the picture screams. I can sit in an emergency and remain still, not cold, not distant, but clear, available to the Christ impulse that alone heals. A word may come, or silence may itself be the balm. A practical instruction may arise. Call, go, rest, even take them to a doctor. Go as sent, not as panicked. Thy grace, not my plan. Keep humility at the door. Frankly, I can't do it for you, nor can books or recordings. This help has to come as the activity of the Christ, not as my understanding. I am a willing instrument. I'm willing to be still and let you be God. And when the release comes, peace, a soft yes, a clean no, you may speak it and then step back. Do not become necessary. If after you help they say, I must have you, send them inward. No, let us go to God together, within you. If I go not away, the Comforter will not come to you. Do you see that? Here is the purity of service. You refuse to be the source. You consent to be the transparency. You meet no person as a problem. You meet a belief in consciousness. You recognize holiness where the world reports crisis. And you allow grace to do the works, quietly, impersonally, sufficiently, leaving no hooks of pride, no cords of dependence, only the atmosphere of rest that says, God is individual being. God is your being. God is my being. Thy grace is enough. Do you see that? Now let us make this very plain and very simple. Because unless you have a rule of life, you will forget in the rush. Several times a day, 3, 4, 5. Stop for 3 to 5 minutes. Anywhere. No candles, no posture requirements. Stop. Do nothing but go within. No asking, no planning, no rehearsing. Do you see that? We are not coming for things. We are consenting to be the place where God as individual being lives his own life. Give it this minimal structure and no more. First, the interior declaration, softly. God is my individual being. All that the Father hath is mine. I of mine own self can do nothing. Father, thou doest the works. Second, stillness. Put down the words. I am a willing instrument. I'm willing to be still and let you be God. Wait without picture, without agenda. Third, grace. Let thy grace be the sufficiency unto this day, this body, this household. Then release it. Rise and return to your task as if you had placed the whole universe back into the only hands that ever held it. Do you follow that? No lingering to see if anything happened. You have yielded. Now live. Why such short intervals? Because we are retraining the reflex. The habit has been to look out for proof, for permission, for supply. These brief turnings reverse the axis of your day from outer to inner, from literature to embodiment. 1,000 pages are still a book. 3 minutes of realized oneness is consciousness. When, however, we embody one principle, God is individual being, then we are living the scripture. These micro-intervals salt the hours. They charge the atmosphere with the awareness, I and the Father are one. Not once at dawn, then forget. Again and again, until it becomes as natural as breathing. Do you see that? Now your mind will complain. I'm busy. 3 minutes will save you 30, because the next step will come clean, not out of hurry. I'm bored. We are not entertaining you. We are re-establishing premise. Nothing happened. You are not producing a sensation. You are establishing consciousness. The greatest achievements have come when there have been no words and no thoughts. If nothing seems to occur, you have still refused the old confession of separation. That is a holy refusal. Repeat it, and repetition will ripen into realization. Place them deliberately. Before the day begins, before a call, before you spend, before you answer, before you eat, and as you close your eyes at night. 3 to 5 minutes. Declaration. Stillness. Grace. Then release. If an impulse comes, follow it. If none, be content in not knowing until it comes. This is not duality. It is merely the human form of turning within to let the Christ be the life of your life. What happens over weeks is not fireworks. It is identity. The old selfhood apart from God thins, the need to manage dissolves, and instrumentality appears. Decisions simplify. Fear has fewer hooks. Supply stops arriving as strain and begins to show up as rightness. The seal is rest. Small intervals, repeated, will change a life more than any amount of reading. Do you see that? Turn now, then turn again, and let grace make of your day a transparency for God as your own being. Now let us close the circle. The search that ran you to people, to places, to plans, ends here. Not because the world has changed, but because premise has changed. God is not elsewhere. God is individual being. God is your being. God is my being. Therefore, supply is not outside in, but inside out. Guidance is not fetched from weather vanes and poles. It issues from the withinness of your own life. Healing is not a contest with matter. It is the dissolving activity of the Christ realized in consciousness. Do you see that? The well is not over the hill. It is the spring under your feet. Drink where you stand. And so, external religion, books, teachers, temples, yes, they can be beautiful when they point you home. But the moment they ask you to need them, the moment they become a marketplace of dependence, they have missed their own gospel. If I go not away, the Comforter will not come to you. Do you see that? A sermon is only faithful if it evaporates into your realization. A teacher is only faithful if you can forget his name and find the presence alone. A practice is only faithful if it trains your gaze inward until, without props, you know, I and the Father are one. Carry one question into your day and let it cut like a bright knife through every moment. Am I looking out there for what can only be realized within? When the bill arrives, am I looking out there? When the body whispers, am I looking out there? When the face before you smiles or frowns, am I looking out there? Then pivot. I of mine own self can do nothing. Father, thou doest the works. Is there a word? Is there a step? Is there a holy delay? Wait. The Christ impulse will present itself without hurry and without apology, and with it will come the sign of its authenticity. Peace in the very act. Do you see that? And let me spare you the sting of perfectionism. You will forget, and then you will remember. You will fight the old battle and win it again, not by strength, but by surrender. Habit will pull. Grace is constant. Even when your attention wanders, the life that is your life does not wander. The place whereon you stand is holy ground, because God is standing there as you. Nothing can happen to you except what happens to God, and there is only God. This is not duality. This is merely the human form of turning within to let the One live its own life as your life. Rest is the seal. Do you see that? Now as you go, take with you a final interior script, simple enough to pray between breaths. Father, thou seest me. Thou seest the Father. Let thy grace be my sufficiency now. The us be still. Not words after it, stillness. Not strain, availability. And as often as the day asks for an answer, return and say it again. And then let the quiet have you. You stop seeking because you have found the source where you stand, and grace faithfully will prove it. Do you see that?